friends, Nicole here on this blustery afternoon in Tiverton, Rhode Island, here on my porch to help you find your seat. Sukhasana, as this pose is known in Sanskrit, also known as easy pose, which I think is a huge misnomer because this posture is anything but. This is probably one of the more challenging postures in yoga, just finding a comfortable space to sit for an extended period of time. This pose is actually the pinnacle of yoga. This is why yoga asana, yoga movement exists, to ready the body, to open the hips and the shoulders, to lengthen the core, lengthen the spine, strengthen the core, to be able to sit in meditation for long periods of time. And the thing that I found with working in my Sukhasana for I guess about a decade that I've been practicing yoga, is that it's always changing. It changes from morning to afternoon, it changes from day to day, it changes from year to year. Always generally progressing forward, but of course, just like anything else, many times taking steps back. So, let's get started. The thing that I always recommend for students is to sit up on something. I'm sitting up on this blanket. For me, this blanket, folded at this thickness, is the perfect height for my hips to be lifted up off of the mat. And this is going to be different for everybody. I used to sit on a much taller bolster. As my hips opened, as my psoas lengthened, I've been able to lower that down. The height of which you're sitting on has no bearing whatsoever on how good of a yogi you are, how good you are at meditation, or any other self-limiting ideas you have about how your body should or shouldn't behave. Blocks are another great option to sit on. And the reason why I sit on a blanket, and I'm going to fold this sideways so you can see, is that when I sit on the ground, it's hard for me to sit up straight. If I sit with my spine, lengthened, stacked, I'm kind of rounded. I'm kind of moving forward. If I attempt to lengthen my spine to find root for my sits bones, you can see that I'm leaning forward. And that kind of finding that place in the middle is a bit of a challenge. So instead, I take my blanket, lift my hips up just a couple of inches. It allows my pelvis to tilt forward, lifts up my hips, and allows my crown to rest above my tail. Lengthened spine. Other options include sitting up on blocks, and not even as a replacement for the blanket. When your teacher says come to a comfortable posture at the beginning of practice, you can stack 1, 2, I usually use 3, but you could use more or less in a kneeling posture. And the reason why I'm actually wearing this dress, wearing this skirt, is to show you that you don't need any particular outfit or leggings or anything in particular to practice seating or meditation. So the blocks are stacked right underneath my tailbone, the tops of my knees, the tops of my feet, pressing down into the mat. Here, my hips, flexibility is kind of taken out of the equation, and I can just focus on rooting my tailbone into the blocks, engaging my core, lifting my heart, lifting my crown, length in the spine. Another use for blocks, whether you're seated on a block or not, is to go under your knees. So say when you sit in Sukhasana, your pose looks a little bit more like this, with your knees lifted up off the ground, which is absolutely totally fine, by the way. So if this is comfortable, great, you can stay just like this. If you feel a little bit of support, get your blocks, place them underneath your knees. Now, I'm totally supported on the blocks, on the blanket, on the mat, letting my lower half of my body find a sustainable place to be while I'm lengthening, lifting, elevating my mind and spirit during meditation. I hope this little bit was informative. I hope it gave you some new ideas to practice next time you go to yoga class or next time you're sitting in your home to meditate. Thanks for joining me.